like to call to order the regular board meeting of the Vallecitos Water District for March 15th, 2023. Public notice, if you want to watch it, you can watch it on our website. If you want to listen on the phone number is 888-788-0099 or 877-853-5242. Yeah, Pledge of Allegiance.
Mr. President, before we go to that, can we just announce that the board will be going back into closed session following the regular meeting? It's continuing the item until afterward.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Rise for the pledge. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Roll call. And we're all present. Do we have any additions to the agenda?
We do not.
Very good. May I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Please vote. And the agenda is approved. Do we have any public comment?
We did not receive anything, and I don't see any attendees with their hands raised.
All right. Do we have any, a motion to approve the consent calendar?
Move to approve consent calendar?
And a second? I'll second that. Please vote. And the consent calendar passes. On to action items 2.1, the adoption of resolution approving loan amendment to transition from London interbank rate to secured overnight financing rate.
Yeah, I'm going to ask Wes to kick this off, and we have Laura Carpenter and Jonathan Goose with us tonight to add some texture to the conversation.
Yes, good evening, President Hernandez, members of the board. Laura's going to do the majority of the presentation on this item, but the district has one loan, our 2008 loan with Union Bank, and that loan is indexed by the LIBOR, which is the London Bank Interbank Offering Rate. It's a variable rate that's, and there's a specific formula in the loan documents which tell what the interest rate will be, and it changes depending on the district's election, every 1 month, 3 month, or 6 month term. So that's built into a 20-year loan that we have. LIBOR is actually being phased out, and we're now actually required to go over to what's called SOFR, and I'm trying to remember what SOFR is. Laura will be able to help us that. I should know. I wrote the staff report and looked it up several times, but Laura will help. SOFR is the new index that we'll be linking to, and we've set up the new loan amendment, which is just a transition. It's not a refunding or a refinancing, so that it should be the equivalent or approximate equivalent as best we can do to LIBOR. So there's really very little to no financial impact to the district, but Laura will give more detail on exactly what's happening and that impact. So with that, I'll introduce Laura Carpenter from Feldman Roll-Up, and she'll be giving her presentation.
Thank you very much, Wes. Appreciate the introductions. Quick question before I get started is, will there be a presentation projected, or would you like me to use a hard copy instead? Or would you like me to share the presentation?
If you can share your screen, that'd be great.
Okay, bear with me as I pull it up.
We can see it.
Okay, great. So Wes gave a great introduction, and what I wanted to do this evening is to provide the district's board with an overview of the reason behind bringing these documents before you. As plainly spoken, it's really an amendment to the interest rate that's being calculated on your actual outstanding loan agreement. But before we dive into those exact details, Wes provided a great overview of your loan document, but here on the first slide is another quick overview representing that back in 2008, the district executed its loan with Union Bank. This is an adjustable rate loan, which, as Wes stated, it not remarkets, but it adjusts every term or period selected by the district, which could be a 1 month, 3 month, or 6 month term. Originally, back in 2008, the adjustable rate index that was selected was LIBOR, London Interbank Offering Rate. Currently, that rate is being sunsetted as of June 30th, 2023, which means banks are no longer allowed to offer that rate. And that's the reason why we have to amend the actual existing loan agreement and bring it back before the district to approve. The actual loan agreement, as Wes indicated, is a 20-year term. It matures in 2028, and currently it's outstanding in the amount of $2.4 million. The district makes two semi-annual interest and principal payments. The principal payments made annually is approximately $400,000, and again, that is going to term out in 2028. This loan agreement is also subordinate in nature, which means it's just paid last in the flow of funds for the district's obligations and other outstanding debt. As I mentioned briefly, the US and UK regulators are announcing or have announced last year and some years prior that LIBOR will no longer be utilized after June 30th, 2023. There was a fairly robust amount of review and discussion, and the alternate reference rate committee that was convened by the Federal Reserve convened and actually calculated and selected an entirely new adjustable rate index that can be used by public participants. That index acronym is SOFR, and it's the Secured Overnight Financing Rate. This rate and how it's produced is slightly different than LIBOR rates. Public participants do believe this rate to be more transparent. It is calculated based off of actual public trades, and it's a collateralized overnight borrowing rate between banks. So any issuer who has LIBOR outstanding on their loan agreements is obligated to make this type of transition going forward on its loan agreements prior to June 30th, 2023. Since the district has an upcoming reset date on March 31st, we thought it was the best timing to incur and to amend the existing loan agreements to reflect this type of transition. And the transition itself, we show here on this slide. It requires an amendment to this loan agreement to describe the new defined terms of the interest and really going over the features of what SOFR is and how it's calculated. The original rate and formula that was used in 2008 based off the LIBOR index is shown here. It is a margin of LIBOR, so it's 64.7%. That makes the rate into what we classify as a tax-exempt rate, so a lower rate than the actual index. And then based off credit, there's an additional spread of 0.79%. So as of today's market conditions, that rate would have been at 3.84%. And the next formula is what we're transitioning into pursuant to the new index of SOFR. Pursuant to the committee that was convened into the other regulators that have been reviewing this index, in order to make the two rates financially similar, that SOFR rate requires an additional adjustment, and that adjustment proposed by the bank and also reviewed by multiple other public participants is a 0.1%. So the revised formula based off today's market conditions would have resulted in an interest rate of 3.92%. Now, every day the market moves. So these two indexes, on average, with that adjustment should be fairly similar. So this amendment really should structure your new interest payments to be in line with what they were paying previously, just based off of the new index itself. So the documents you have before you today go over those transitional definitions. Again, as Wes indicated, this is not a refinancing, not a refunding. We're not changing any of the terms of the loan. It has the same final maturity, and you're paying the same principal amortization through the final maturity in 2028. The amendment to the supported loan agreement here in your board agenda packet just goes over what those terms and conditions are pursuant to the transition to the SOFR index. And it also has additional language to describe what would happen if SOFR also sunsets or is not available to be utilized by the bank. So it has a set of procedures that the bank and the district can correspond together and reach a new conclusion. But you have before you a district resolution to authorize the execution of the First Amendment. And then the First Amendment goes into detail of these additional transitional language periods, as well as a replacement note. And that replacement note sets forth the balance of the note itself, The remaining amount, of course, being 2.4 million, and also describes the new interest rate calculation using the index of SOFR. That concludes my presentation. Hopefully the update is fairly simple, but I'm here to answer any available questions, and I will pass it back to the board president.
Do we have any questions?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah,
A couple quick questions. This only refers to that one loan that would happen in '08, not the one that we took out to. Is there, I mean, do we have to transfer that one from the LIBOR to the SOFR?
It's just the one loan, just the 2008 loan. The rest of our debt is at fixed rates.
So two other questions. Is there any fees to do this?
There are, it's with bond counsel and the financial advisors, it's about a $15,000 fee.
To transfer? And if we don't transfer, what happens?
That's a good question. I don't think we have a choice. Laura, did you hear the question?
Yes, there is no way of keeping the loan outstanding with the old LIBOR rate because that rate and index will not be available for banks to use. So this is a necessary next step for any loan agreement that needs to be amended. Of course, the alternate is to pay it off entirely, but if it's still outstanding, the index does need to be changed from its existing LIBOR index rate.
So it cost us $2.4 million.
Right, okay. With the 15, okay. So I guess a follow-up question, would there be a benefit, do we have funds? And would there be a benefit to pay off this loan?
And the answer to that is actually no. This would come out of the sewer capacity fund, and the current balance there is about $2.2 million. So we would go back into a deficit situation if we were to pay off this loan.
Thank you.
any other questions? I would entertain a motion to approve the resolution.
Second?
Is that a move?
That's a move to approve.
Move, and a second?
Second.
Second, and a second, please vote. And the resolution passes unanimously. Thank you all very much. Moving on to item 2.2, I've been waiting for this, water supply update.
Yeah, so Chris is going to give our recurring update here, and as soon as we prepare the presentations, they're out of date. I mean, things are moving so quickly this year, so,
Is that up to date as of 5 o'clock?
yeah. And as of last Thursday when we posted the agenda, that's not as good as it is. So, come on.
Okay, so we are shared. Good evening, President Hernandez, board members. So the report that's in your packet is something I prepared last week, but I went ahead and updated the PowerPoint today with some new and updated info. The level of precipitation that's occurring in California just changes from week to week, so I went ahead and did that.
Thank you.
The district is still in a level 2 drought. 2 days per week is the amount of irrigation that can happen at this specific time through the end of May. Once we reach the end of May, it'll up to 3 days per week if we stay in a level 2 drought. And I will alert the customers at that point that option's available when we get to that point. Metropolitan Water District of Southern California, back in December of 2022, they declared a regional drought emergency to all of Southern California, and all water agencies were immediately to reduce their use of supplies. But more recently, Metropolitan is finding themselves in what we would call a surplus status. They plan to remove the water shortage emergency condition from the state water project dependent areas. They're going to terminate the emergency water conservation program for that state water project dependent area, but they want to reaffirm that the drought emergency still exists for all the member agencies at this time. Here's the drought map from September 28th of 2021. Those real dark, scary burgundy red extreme drought colors. This map I didn't update close enough, March 5th, and you can see how much improved it looks from just a couple years ago. This next slide shows the Northern Sierra 8 index. This is from today, so it slid into the point. You're looking at the blue line that's just passing that purple line from 2018, 2019, and the values are 138% to date of average. So good news in the Northern Sierra 8 Station Index. And then this is also recent. This is for today. This is snow water content. And you can see Northern California at the top, Central, and then Southern California, Sierras. You can see the 260% down in the southern area. So just a lot of precipitation, snowpack statewide, and 223% of average. So that's just a really nice number to see. This slide with the reservoir storage is also from today. Lake Oroville at 80% of capacity. I'll have a slide later on in the presentation. They did a release from Oroville in anticipation of additional storms. So, and you can also see that the historical point where Lake Oroville would be, we're at 120% of the historical average for that date. So that's looking good. All these numbers are coming up. San Luis at 88%. So good to really see these numbers. Colorado River, Lake Mead, and Lake Powell, they're still hovering in that 25% ranges, so not looking really well. But the good news is the precipitation and the snowpack. This is a new slide I added in. This is Upper Colorado Basin snowpack, and you're looking at the real dark line on this map, the much heavier black line, and you can see it's it's about as high as it's been for this specific time of the year. So that's good news. Hopefully when that melts, it'll get into those reservoirs and those numbers will start to improve. 3-month temperature outlook for us, even chances. Precipitation for us, even chances. But, we've been having rain again and again and again, and I'm wondering, are we ready to release water from South Lake? Has it got to that point yet?
Most likely tomorrow.
Yeah, most likely tomorrow, we'll actually have to release water from South Lake, and that it's reaching that point. 6 inches from the top, so, or as high as it's allowed to go, so a lot of local precipitation.
Where does that go?
It'll go to Discovery Lake. Yeah, just push it down. Some additional information that I added in just because of what's going on lately. Statewide conditions. Here we have Oroville, and they're sending water down the spillway just the other day. This is, kind of a new and unusual. And they're pulling the lake level down in anticipation of the storms that we've been getting. So there was a release from Oroville into the Feather River there. Additional info on the state, we had a levee that was breached in Pajaro River, and then it got into the town of Pajaro. So even though I'm telling you good news, it's not good news for everybody. It impacts people. Snow and rain and floods impact the community as a whole. And then this is kind of late news. The governor recently, I think last Friday, put out an announcement. They want to expedite groundwater recharge. So the plan is to divert 600,000 acre feet of water from the San Joaquin River, try and get it into the San Joaquin Valley and refill the aquifers there. So some additional developments at the State Water Resources Control Board staff have paused on developing mandatory drought standards. Things were looking bad a little while ago, and things are improving, so they've paused their action at this point. Their messaging is moving away from drought response and into more of just water use efficiency and just making sure that we use water efficiently. And then also the climate change and the fact that they're noticing we're getting these big swings of really dry and really wet. So just different things coming from the state itself. General Manager, was there anything you wanted to add from any of your meetings with the the other agency managers?
No, I think Chris covered most of it. We're gonna be tracking conditions closely, and if we need to come to the board to ask you to change the drought level we're in, we'll do that as soon as possible. Just to highlight one of the issues that Chris talked about, one of the biggest challenges for our reservoirs in the state is trying to balance that need for flood control with water storage. So at the same time of year, you want to be capturing all this water because it's raining, you need to keep room in the reservoir to accept that flood water so it doesn't flood downstream properties. So that's a tough balance, and I think the state's doing a good job at it. But if it wasn't for the flood control aspect, you'd probably see all of those reservoirs even more full than they are. They're being artificially kept down so that there's no downstream flooding.
Right. Any questions? Yeah, yes.
Just wanted to commend Chris and his team for doing such a great job in public relations, and I loved your last part about focusing on water efficiency. No one wants to hear that we're still on a level 2 drought when they look outside and see conditions like this. So definitely keep the focus on water efficiency and you know, the exciting things that we have, the positive, exciting things that we have going on. Appreciate that.
Very good. Well, this was a note and file, so we'll move on to item 2.3, the acceptance for the sewer lining and rehabilitation.
Yeah, so this is an important project, and I'll just provide a little cover fire while these guys are getting ready. But this is a type of project that would normally be on the consent calendar, but we wanted to highlight the type of work, particularly for our newer board members, to see what types of projects we do. So it's a normal project acceptance, but hopefully you'll find it interesting. So I'm going to turn it over to Jason, and then he and Ryan are going to give the presentation.
Yeah, thank you, General Manager Prom. Yeah, General Manager stole my thunder, but yeah, board's typically aware that we routinely bring capital improvement projects to them for final acceptance. But yes, however, for this particular project, we really wanted to highlight it because it really showcases the hard work that our crews do in the field, maintaining the system, getting that information, and how it feeds to engineering and allows us to create and execute these projects that have immense benefits to the district as a whole. So I'm not going to steal Senior Engineer Ryan Morgan's thunder. I'll let him give you those details.
Plenty of thunder to be shared. Thank you, District Engineer Hubbard. This program really originates and starts with the district's award-winning collections department seen in the photo on your screen. Through routine sewer cleaning, CCTV inspections, and just to give you an idea, last year they performed 260 miles of sewer cleanings and inspections, and that's roughly 95% of our gravity sewers in the system. They document operational deficiencies and structural defects according to the National Association of Sewer Service Companies, or NASCO, Pipeline Assessment Certification Program, which is really the standard for defect scoring, assigning severities, and ranking systems for various O&M deficiencies and structural defects. And then through planning coordination with Capital Facilities Department, we incorporate the highest level of medium to high severity sewers in these programs, and the most recent one being the 2022 sewer lining and rehab, which rehabilitated 44 sewer segments, a total of over 8,800 linear feet, 3 top hat repairs, which are repairs at a lateral location, and then 2 spot repairs, which are on the main line. So routine O&M really just becomes the origination of these sewer lining and rehab programs. We did one in 2019, and we just wrapped up the 2022 program. This image shows you what came out of those inspections, and this is really district-wide, mostly vitrified clay pipe sewers, some ductile iron sewers that range in between 8-inch, 10-inch, and 12-inch diameter. Mostly in the city of San Marcos. Cured in place pipe, or commonly referred to CIPP rehabilitation technology, what is it? I'm going to just exit and share a quick video with the board.
In situ Form's flagship cured-in-place pipe technology, or CIPP, is a pipe within a pipe, installed without digging. Resin-saturated, coated felt tubing is inverted or pulled into the existing pipe. Hot water or steam is then circulated throughout the tubing, curing the resin and forming a tight-fitting, jointless, corrosion-resistant pipe within a pipe. Service laterals are then restored using a robotically controlled cutting device. Finally, the rehabilitated pipe is fully inspected by closed-circuit TV.
Okay. So CIPP is really it's a fully structural pipe rehabilitation that's jointless. It's a pipe within a pipe. You can see the before and after videos, which shows a cracked sewer with root intrusion. It's dirty. And then the after product showing the blue line, which represents that CIPP liner system. The photos in the middle are actual photos taken from different sewer rehabilitations on this program. And the biggest thing that this does for the district is it's providing sewer spill prevention. And it's also providing long-term maintenance and emergency maintenance benefits to our operations staff. Inflow and infiltration are commonly referred to as I&I on a day like today, very rainy day. It's a real big problem for sewers. It's where outside water that you don't want in the sewer gets into the sewer, essentially stormwater. And when that happens, it increases dilution in your sanitary sewers, which has a direct impact on decreasing the efficiency of treatment at the treatment plant. This increases your sewer flows and could exceed your sewer capacity, which directly increases your risk of spill and cost of treatment. On a day like today, Operations Manager Pedrazi could speak more to it, but our impacts on I&I could, on a day like today, could increase sewer flows anywhere between 300% to 400% of an increase in the system. It's that dramatic. Trenchless technology reduces environmental and construction impacts. There's no open trench to deal with. There's no surface restoration. There's no machinery digging to disturbing the ground. There's no fuel being burned in that regard. Additionally, asset management renews the district's deficient sewers with a brand new 25-year life expectancy, and these are the worst deficient sewers in the system. These photos are taken directly from the 2022 program. You'll see root intrusion and grease deposits. These are considered operational deficiencies, whereas cracks and voids, a void is a very serious structural defect, something that has to be remedied with urgency. You'll see encrustation on the bottom right, which is common in ductile iron pipes. The metallic, the ferric iron in the pipe reacts with sewer gases and corrodes. Some milestones. The project was awarded on April 6, 2022 to Southwest Pipeline and Trenchless Corporation. There was an NTP provided on July 27th, 2022, and due to some supply chain shortages, mobilization was issued in October 2022. The majority of the work actually got performed in just 6 weeks, and construction was completed on January 27th of this year. You can see kind of before photo, the white on the inside of the pipe is incrustation, corrosion, and the picture right below that shows the cleaned line that's ready to take the CIPP rehab. And finally, the nice clean CIPP rehab with the lateral cutout that video showed the little machine doing on the inside of the pipe. For a perspective on what this program saves the district, and we have cumulative data from 2019 and 2022, so we really just wanted to compile it all to lay it all out, and between the two programs, we have rehabbed almost 4 miles of sanitary sewer over 20,000 feet for a total program budget of over $1.7 million. This equates to $84 per linear foot of rehab. And the total estimated cost savings when you assume a $500 per linear foot of sewer replacement, that's inclusive of surface restoration and everything that goes into a replacement project. We're looking at a savings of over $8.5 million with those assumptions. Staff also self-performed basically this project from cradle to grave, planning, design, bid, project management, construction management, and inspection. And just so you're aware, we're currently working with the collections group right now to put together the 2024 sewer lining program. So this is something that we are doing essentially in perpetuity to remedy our most efficient sewers. An economy of scale is directly related to CIPP and rehabilitation projects. Proportionate savings in cost is gained by an increased level in production, and this really holds true for rehab projects. The more you do, the more you save. We had an $805,000 budget with a construction contract, staff time, including overhead, and a small change order credit on the project. We actually have a budget surplus of nearly $80,000. Board directors might recognize the picture on the bottom. This is at the intersection of Knoll Road and Vallecitos. Another picture with our very veteran inspector, John Childs, here with the clouds in the background. This is the curing process with steam coming out that you kind of saw in the video. Staff took this to the Engineering and Equipment Committee on February 28th and gained project acceptance from the committee. And it's with that, the staff recommends project acceptance and authorizing the general manager to file a notice of completion and release retention of funds to the contractor following the 60-day notice period, provided no claims are filed in conformance with the contract documents. And if there are any questions, I can take those at this time.
Yes.
Well, congratulations, first of all. That's fantastic, and I'm glad that you took the time to share it with us. And it was all done in-house, and you have a negative change order, which means that you really knew what you were doing. And I want you to know that I recognize that and appreciate it. I have a question about this, because we've talked a lot about ductile iron pipes. And it looks like that's some of what you were refurbishing. We're also in the middle of an asset sort of inventory. So I wonder, was there any opportunity as you were going through this and doing that to also take that inventory and add that to our, as we sort of accumulate our data for our asset management?
I believe we already do have that on inventory of which sewers are ductile iron. And I believe it's roughly 15 to 20% of the sewers are ductile iron, where the vast majority are VCP or clay pipe. And I remember we saw that number in the past. So we do have it on inventory. A lot of that information that you saw on the map was pulled right out of our GIS.
Yeah, our ductile iron is probably about 23 miles out of the 276 miles that we have. So yeah, our GIS system has a real good count of that, and it's definitely part of the work that the collection crew does. They know where that ductile is, and so they're taking particular care because of the corrosion that you see to inspect it and clean it.
You may have caught that Ryan mentioned this is a structural liner. What that means is, so once it gets inside it, even if the outside pipe continues to corrode and even disintegrates and falls apart, this liner can stand by itself. So that's really important, it to be a structural liner, not just like a cosmetic or a wear liner on the inside.
Other questions? Yes.
Just want to thank you for saving $8.5 million for the district and its ratepayers. So it's really important what you're doing, and we sincerely appreciate it.
Very good.
So you mentioned, what is that liner? What is it made of, that structural liner?
It's actually a flexible fabric. It's like a sock. It's a tube. It's impregnated with resin, and when you cure it with the steam, that resin creates, it hardens. And I should have brought a sample of it. We actually have some coupons of the CIPP from previous projects in our offices if you ever want to come by it. It is a very hard material once it's cured.
Is it 25-year life?
Mm-hmm. That's right.
And you mentioned we're doing that in-house? All of that is done in?
Yes, the bid package, the design, the planning, and from cradle to grave. There's no consultant on board with us on this one.
The construction, however, is done.
Yeah.
Right.
The construction is, we bid it out to a contractor.
And who preps the pipes? Do we, or do they?
It's part of their work.
It's part of their work. They prep the pipes before they put it, okay.
They do a pre-inspection where they'll do a CCTV inspection of it to document the deficiencies, and then they'll clean it, they'll line it, and then they'll do a post-inspection to make sure the liner is not defective.
Cool. No, Agreed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Yes.
After 25 years, can you do it again, or do they need to be fully replaced?
It can be done again with the proper treatment. It basically has to be cleaned out or reamed out. It really depends on the condition of the line, and it's a bit of a case-by-case basis. But yes, it can be, but every time you line it, you lose a little bit more cross-sectional area of the pipeline, so capacity.
Yeah, occasionally that liner will delaminate from the host pipe, and but that's case by case.
Got it, thank you.
Thank you.
Other questions? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to accept the liner and rehabilitation for 2022.
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Please vote. And it passes unanimously. Moving on to 2.4, the San Diego North Economic Development Council Annual Economic Summit.
Yeah, so this kind of became a moot point. So this is a group that we don't, isn't on our list of pre-approved for per diems and travel. So we were initially looking for that approval, but all of the directors who would go to this are going to be up at Aqua anyway. So it's kind of a moot point, but, so we don't need to take any action. But if any director was thinking of not going to Aqua and wanted to go this, you'd need to have the board's permission that you'd get per diem, registration, and expenses to attend. So that's all this is.
And we'll bring this back annually?
Yeah, we bring it back every year.
Very good. There's no action to take here, I believe. So we're moving on to 2.5, California Special District Association Board of Directors call for nominations.
Yeah, so CSDA is just, they have an open seat and they're seeking interested candidates. The deadline is April 6th. If any of our directors are interested in throwing their hat in the ring, staff will come back on April 5th with a resolution of support. I don't believe there's a resolution in the packet today, so
No.
if you're interested, this will be on the April 5th agenda item, or agenda for approval, but, so I guess I'll look for a show of hands if anybody's interested.
Very good. Anybody interested? And if you think about it and decide later on, let staff know and we'll get that on our next agenda. Item 2.6, the election to fill 4 executive committee member positions for the Association of California Water Agencies Joint Powers Insurance Authority.
Yeah, so similar to the item above, Aqua JPIA has 4 vacant seats for their executive committee. They're looking for people that are interested. You have to be a member of a special district or an agency that participates in all of Aqua JPIA's 4 insurance programs. We do, so we're eligible. So if you wanted to express your interest, you have to adopt a resolution of support here, which that's what's on the agenda tonight. Director Pennick has expressed interest, so this is to adopt a resolution of support for Director Pennick. And Director Pennick would also have to submit 3 concurring resolutions from 3 other Aqua member agencies. I've reached out to other agencies. I believe some of them are processing it right now. I don't know if we'll get 3 supporting ones, but we would need to take this action today as a minimum qualification for Director Pennick's support.
Any questions? Entertain a motion to approve the resolution nominating Director Pennick for the ACWA JPIA Executive Committee.
So moved.
I'll second that. Please vote.
I think I'm gonna have to abstain, I don't even know.
You can vote. Heavens, absolutely. Unanimous. Very good.
It'd be interesting if you voted against you.
Just make it exciting.
All right, on to reports. General Manager.
Yeah, just a few to try to keep this moving along. So just a reminder, the South Lake ribbon cutting ceremony is next Wednesday at 2 o'clock. It should be a great event because the lake will be full.
Oh, yeah.
Which you just heard, right? And that's a rarity. There's limited parking there, so I would encourage you, if you're interested, and hopefully all of you can attend, you may want to meet here no later than 1:30, and we can get a couple of van pools going over to take you over to South Lake. If you can't come here first, then you may be hard pressed to find parking there.
Yeah, because it really is, there's only 10 spaces, 12 maybe.
Will it be dangerous because of the releases from South?
Yeah, hopefully not, yeah.
Surf down.
Pretty sure the releases will be done by then. Yeah.
All righty.
So the next item, Ryan mentioned that whenever we have rainfalls like this, we have problems with sewer capacity. And it did happen today. We did have a sewer spill today. So you may recall a month or two ago, we had a spill along our main sewer outfall in the community called the Laurels. We spilled there again this morning. The heavy rains happened to coincide with the peak diurnal flows of people, getting up and taking showers and flushing toilets and all that. I don't know if Ed has an update, but as of midday, it was still spilling. Started early and was still spilling about noon. Ed, is it still? Stopped at 2 o'clock. So that's good. These are the types of things we do report to the regional board. And we may have to do some postings and things like that, like posting beach closures or taking samples. But we'll let the board know if any enforced actions are being considered by the regional board. Last thing I wanted to mention was the ceiling replacement project. So in here, there's a construction project that's soon going to begin. They're going to be replacing some of these ceiling tiles. The construction that's going to start tomorrow. The construction contract says that they have to restore the functionality of the boardroom for board meetings. There may be some minor disruption, but we can conduct a meeting in here, but all of our committee meetings won't take place in here. We think it'll only affect one board meeting, but if it takes longer than expected, it could affect two board meetings, but it'll be a, pardon our dust type of thing. But we did build it into the contract for them to restore the board meeting for board meeting purposes, or the boardroom for board meeting purposes. And that's it. That's all I had.
Very good. Legal counsel.
I have no report this evening, thank you.
Very fine. County Water Authority.
Yeah, the only thing I have to report is the regular March board meetings next week on the 23rd.
Very fine. Encina Wastewater, our capital committee took place this morning, and we got an update on our capital projects. We approved phase 1 of the roofing and HVAC improvement project, and we moved on with the blower SCADA migration project. And that was the end of the report. The next meeting will be April 19th. Let's see, directors, standing committees.
Yes.
Yes.
The P3 committee met on March the 3rd, and we discussed several topics. One that are very exciting. One of which is it looks like there's going to be a joint organizing proposal that's led by the city of San Marcos that will include Vallecitos, that will enable rebates to potential HOAs to change out their landscaping. And I believe Vallecitos is going to be doing some road shows to local HOAs to talk more about that once it's in place. So that is one thing that I think will hopefully save many of our customers a little bit of money by hopefully not having their HOA fees increase. Secondly, I am very happy to report that the Bill Dean Water Leadership Program, which we are piloting for the second year, will take place at Double Peak School, and it will include all 3 fifth grade classrooms. And I think that is wonderful. I can't wait until they present here for the board and tell us what they've learned. Let's see. We are conducting, and Chris is not here. I was hoping he could bail me out a little bit if I get this wrong, but the San Marcos Promise, which is a program that SMUSD runs to help young people with their leadership skills and prepare them for work life or college, is going to be conducting experience-ships at Vallecitos, and it looks like that is right around the corner, March 28th to 30th. So we will have 6 students, job shadow staff in operations maintenance, finance, and water conservation. So they will be, there will be some young people around Vallecitos learning about what it's like on a day-to-day basis to work here. And finally, the CSU San Marcos Senior Graduate Experience will be working to help us better understand the most appropriate and effective and efficient way for fleet electrification. They will be working through a timeline that they will come back to us with. They will be figuring out what the sequence is to replace our specific vehicles that are going to be needing to be replaced. And it looks like they are going to also have to factor in legislation and CARB rules as well, and I'm looking forward to that project, to hear the readout of that.
Very good. We did have a ad hoc committee meeting regarding the Hilltop project with our consultant, and we are still waiting on the city to make a determination on their general plan amendment. Our consultant, Rick Giddings, will be attending that meeting here in a month. Once we understand where we are with that relative to the density and what other opportunities there are relative to increased densities because of senior housing, low-income housing, we can then put together an RFP to consultants to bring back programs and identify to us densities, images, and amounts of money that are going to be for lease and how that would play out. We also have had the consultant seek an additional consultant for exactly how the payment and what the amount should be relative to a project of this magnitude. I don't think any of us have the expertise to kind of figure that out. We've individually gone out and just chatted with other brokers, realtors, and got some idea, but with a consultant on board, we'll get confirmed what we should be anticipating when these proposals come in. That's probably going to be at least a couple of months away, so we just really wanted to bring you up to speed that we are working on it, things are being done, but we're not ready to bring a program back to the board for a decision to be made. Any questions? Yes.
So since I've been on the board, I've never had a presentation about what this program is, what this committee does, what this project is. I would like to have that before I'm asked to make a decision about. And I know we've talked about this before, but I'm wondering if maybe at this point I would like to put on an agenda in the very near future a presentation about what this committee does, what the project is, and you know what the outcome is that we would desire. So if someone else will agree with that, maybe we can get that on an agenda.
I think, you know, putting together a presentation, we really don't have an idea of what we want to do because we're not sure about the density. So until we get an idea of the density, we don't know whether it's going to be 600 units or 1,400 units. But I'd agree, another presentation just to bring you up to speed, perhaps show some of the documents that have been presented to us for the board.
We can certainly do that. We can give some background, talk about how we got to where we're at, previous board actions, steps we've taken with our consultant and with other outside support consultants, and kind of create a level playing field for the rest of you who aren't part of that committee, so that you're not asked to make a decision the very first time you hear about the project.
Right. Yeah, I think that would be really helpful to know. You know, we know that the city has been mandated to create certain numbers of various levels of affordable housing. And so I would like for that to also be factored in, whether it's in the discussions or whether it's in the context. You know, we've made a lot of progress on some certain levels of affordable housing, but not as much progress as we are scheduled to be making through 2029 on other types of affordable housing. So it would be great if we could make some progress on that, and that's what I'm going to be looking for, frankly, whenever I see this come through, because if we have that opportunity, it would be great to do that to help meet our RHNA numbers.
Yes, we've talked about that from the beginning, and that will be part of the evaluation of the ultimate shortlist, whoever we are, but bringing back what we've seen, we have made no decisions yet. We're just in the process of gathering information. So, yes.
Yeah, as a second board member, I'd support a status update as soon as we can do that.
Very good.
I think Rick would welcome the
Oh, yeah.
opportunity.
Yeah, no,
Talk about
absolutely.
affordable
We'd have
housing,
him here
veteran
to
housing,
give
senior
us
housing, and kind of
firsthand knowledge.
conceptually just concepts, not details.
Yeah, and we did something similar at the last ad hoc committee meeting, because we have a new member, so we kind of went through that history to bring Director Pennick up to speed, so I envision a version of that in front of the board as well.
Perfect. All right. Director's reports on meeting and conferences? Nope, don't think we had any. Director's comments, and we know about a future agenda item. Any further items? Very good, then I believe we are going to adjourn, and do I need a motion to re-enter closed session?
One is not necessary, as long as there's no objection to it. But the board would be basically adjourning the regular meeting and going back to the special closed session meeting
Very
at this
good.
time for the item that was listed on the closed session agenda.
Then we're going to adjourn.